Hello and welcome to the Actual Tech Media Expert Series. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from Actual Tech Media and I'm excited to be your moderator for this timely event on practical AI, what artificial intelligence and machine learning can do for IT and business today. Obviously there's been a lot of talk about AI lately, with ChatGPT and the DALL-E image processing. Questions about timelines. How long do we have before the AI at least takes our jobs, if not wiping us all off the face of the earth? But what we're going to dig into today is a little bit less huge picture and getting more into what is there out there right now that you can use for IT purposes and business purposes that can just supercharge certain things that you're doing. What's the reality of things that you can do. Now, before we get to today's great content, we do have a few housekeeping items that will help you get the most out of this session. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in our webinar control panel. Not only will we have team members responding to questions during the live event, but we'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we'll discuss in greater detail some of the top questions that come in. That Q&A panel is also the place to just say hello, which a lot of you have been doing already. We'd love to hear where you're logging in from. And it's also the place to let us know if we can help in the unlikely event that you have any technical issues. A browser refresh will fix most issues, but if that doesn't work, just let us know in the Q&A and we'll provide further technical assistance. At the end of the webinar event, we will be awarding a $250 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for the prize. The official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can be found in the handout section. Just scroll to the bottom and you'll find the prize terms and conditions link there. Now, these Expert Series events are special product neutral looks at pressing technology problems presented by an expert in the field. But the support of our sponsors make it possible for us to bring you this content. So we want to give a special shout out to those sponsors. Over the next few slides, I'm going to share some messages from our sponsors today, and they'll refer to links that you can find in the handout section of your console at any time during the presentation. I highly recommend that you grab those links early, just so you don't forget that they're there later on, and then suddenly the event ends and they're off your screen. But as always, the handout section also has a few valuable Actual Tech Media links. There's a link to the Gorilla Guide Book Club, where you can get access to Actual Tech Media's great printed resources on technology topics. There's also a link to the ATM Event Center, which has our calendar of upcoming events. So before we get to the main presentation, a few words from our sponsors. We are supported by Informatica. Informatica brings your data to life with AI and machine learning. Follow the link for information on how to operationalize your AI and ML models at scale with machine learning ops or ML ops. The link also has information about Informatica World, which runs from May 8th to 11th in Las Vegas. So there you can click on that link or find the same link in your handout. Today's event is also sponsored by Palo Alto Networks. Palo Alto Networks is the world's cybersecurity leader. They envision a world where each day is safer than the one before. Their next-gen security solutions, expert services, and industry-leading threat intelligence empower organizations across every sector to transform with confidence. Use the QR code on your screen or the link in your handouts to register for AIOps and appetizers. It's a Zoom meeting on May 2nd, and if you're in the US or Canada, you register with a valid business address and you stay for the whole event, you'll get an Uber Eats gift card. So check that out. This event is also brought to you by Pure Storage. Pure accelerates modern analytics and AI workloads to deliver a single scale-out storage platform that drives time to insight for data-driven businesses. Follow the QR code or the link in your handouts to discover how FlashBlade S simplifies data storage across your AI project lifecycle. So once again, take advantage of that handout section where you can find all the AI links that you have just seen. And with that, let's get to today's fantastic content. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to our presenter today, my longtime friend, Howard M. Cohen. Howard's got a ton of experience with technology vendors, with channel companies as an executive, consultant, and as an author. He's got one of the most comprehensive perspectives on the intersection of technology and business. And on top of that, he's been thinking seriously about the impact of AI on all of that for several years, which makes Howard just the perfect presenter for today's topic. Howard, welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Scott. Hey, listen, that AIOps and appetizers, does that mean we're having snacks?
No, you've got to register for their event on May 2nd for the snack.
Okay. Well, here
Sorry,
I was
Howard.
getting
No
hungry.
snacks today.
Okay. Well, let me provide some informational snacks then.
That sounds good to
Um,
me.
Okie doke. Thank you, Scott. So, good morning and welcome to our session today. Practical AI, what artificial intelligence and machine learning can do for IT and business today. I am Howard M. Cohen. My official title is Senior Resultant. That simply means that I'm all about results and I'm old or getting old. So, really glad you joined us. Those of you who have been at any of my sessions in the past know that I like to begin with a word of the day. I'm a writer, I'm big about words. So I always have a word of the day. And today's word is apprehensive. Apprehensive. And by the way, this is a statue called the Apprehensive Man, which is just really interesting looking. Why do I say apprehensive? Well, basically, the reason is that there's a 800-pound gorilla in the room. And that 800-pound gorilla is basically what Scott alluded to earlier. People are really apprehensive about AI. They're afraid of it. They're worried that it's going to take their jobs, and even worse. So I wanted to address that and really get in front of it right away. To do that, I wanted to bring back some quotes from an article I wrote in 2017. And it was about AI and how some people felt about it. One of the people I quoted was Bill Gates, instantly recognizable, obviously the major proponent of technology. Here's what Bill had to say. He said that he's in the camp that's concerned about superintelligence. He's convinced that the early entries, as we've already seen in AI, they're going to do great things. They're, simple jobs, very, repetitive jobs. They can do those very well. His concern, though, is that the intelligence is going to get stronger. And he says he agrees with Elon Musk and some others that they don't understand why some people are not concerned. Well, that doesn't sound very optimistic now, does it? Since he mentioned Elon, I thought I'd bring back a quote from Elon Musk, who says, I hope we're not just a biological bootloader for digital superintelligence. Oh boy, unfortunately, it's increasingly probable. And he says he's not subtle. AI is our biggest existential threat. It's it's kind of scary. These very intelligent guys have these very negative opinions. So I decided to go to a true, unquestionable genius, one of the most brilliant people who has ever walked the earth. And what Dr. Hawking has to say, the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race. Well, and as he's saying here, it would take off on its own and redesign itself and redevelop itself. And indeed, you're going to see that there are technologies that can create new technology constructs. He's saying that we're slow and we couldn't possibly compete, so we would be superseded. So Dr. Stephen Hawking is also a pessimist. Now, why do I give you these pessimists quotes from these brilliant men at the beginning of a presentation? To say that we're aware of it. We're aware of the power of AI, but as Uncle Ben says, with great power comes great responsibility, and we have to be very, very deliberate in our development of it. And you've probably heard in the news that many people are advocating that we slow down the development of AI. I'm not in that camp. I'm in the camp that believes the people who've been developing software for the past 40 years on the platforms we use, they know that there's danger ahead. They know that if we told the technology that its job is to protect Earth, and then it would go out and find out that the greatest threat to Earth is us, humans, so it would wipe us out. Yeah, great in fiction, hopefully doesn't make it to fact. And so I decided, let's press on and let's begin with a definition of exactly what we mean in the terms we're using. So the first one, of course, is artificial intelligence. And this is crisp. It generally refers to processes and algorithms that are able to simulate human intelligence, including mimicking cognitive functions. Notice that it mentions simulating human intelligence, mimicking cognitive functions. The fact is, we are not building machines that think. We are building machines that run algorithms that can extract information from a huge variety of sources, blend it together, draw inferences from it, and deliver opinions, reflect the opinions that are most prevalent in the world to the person who's asking the question. Again, it's simulating human behavior. It's not actually behaving. There's lots of practical applications, as mentioned here. You can understand spoken language. You can recognize faces. Self-driving vehicles is more dependent, I think, on the further development of 5G and no latency. But artificial intelligence certainly plays a part. It also mentioned that machine learning and deep learning are part of AI. So let's look at those. Machine learning, if the AI is going to learn and develop over time, it needs more and more information. It needs to be trained, basically. And there are three camps of doing that. One is to feed it its information. Another is to let it go out and crawl the web and find as much as it can. And the last is to interact with it and reinforce everything that it's gaining. So machine learning is really the part of AI that ingests the information and prepares it for use. And deep learning just handles deeper, more nuanced functions, vision, computer vision, facial recognition. These things require, intense levels of calculation. And so they decided to call it deep learning. There's one other term that doesn't necessarily contribute directly to AI, but I think it's critical for any discussion of AI, and that is digital transformation. Obviously, for a long time now, everybody has either been wanting to or has been undergoing digital transformation. And I did a survey of all the major publications to see what they said digital transformation really was. And if I found a few dozen publications defining digital transformation, I found a few dozen different definitions. Very difficult and hard to pick one. So I kind of tried to bring them all together into one statement that I felt reflected what I think digital transformation is. So mea culpa, this is my view on it. It's not so much about the technology. It's certainly not a technology update or an upgrade or a refresh. It's not that. It's all about what technology can be applied to do that helps people do their work better. Helping you as a person to do things faster, or taking off the simple repetitive tasks so that you can focus on things that are more interesting to you, more fulfilling for you, and more satisfying for you. So digital transformation is really all about people. And that's my perspective. So that's the perspective that I apply here in this presentation. Okay, so we're talking about what AI and ML can do for IT and business today. Let's split that up a little bit, and let's begin with just business. Let's focus on what they can do for business. So here's the first thing. Chatbots is a great example of ways in which AI and ML are applied to improve customer service. Chatbots are not there to replace a human operator. They're there to be the front for a human operator. They collect the basic initial information. They ask a few fundamental questions to determine which resource to forward the caller to. In some cases, there are the top 10 talkers that, the questions people ask most, and they can answer those. That's great. And maybe some more than 10. But ultimately, this is data collection at its best. And so you get right to the heart of the matter with the agent that you're speaking to. Another good example is recommendation engines. This is exciting. For anybody out there who sells anything, recommendation engines are an incredible tool for a lot of reasons. My favorite happens to be marketing. So with a recommendation engine, you have two databases. One is your customer base. Okay, you have a database of all the customers you do business with. You also have a database of the products that you sell or services, if you wish. So, okay, those are two very important quantities for you. What the ML and AI do, the ML goes out and finds as much information as it possibly can about each of your customers. It cruises the web, it cruises all kinds of resources, the social media, and it pulls in all the information that it can to, quote unquote, get to know your customer as well as it can. It then submits that to the AI, which basically compares everything it knows about each customer to each of your products, all of them. And from that observation, from that analysis, it determines which of your products would be most likely to sell well to each customer, right? You then have a new database of which of your products you should be selling to each of your customers. This can then be sent to your marketing automation. These are relevant recommendations. You've basically targeted each customer as well as you possibly can. And so they're getting really relevant suggestions. Very effective marketing. Recommendation engines have been in use for several years now, very, very successfully. While we're on the subject of customers, AI and ML are very good at helping you segment your customers. As we just saw with the recommendation engine, you can reach out, find out as much as you can, and develop an understanding of each group and put each of your customers into a different industry group, a different interest group, a different size group, and far more sophisticated than that. So that's one of the things it can do. Another thing it can do is to help with customer satisfaction analysis. So here we're going beyond the customer satisfaction survey and identifying behaviors that each customer is taking, that indicate whether or not they're satisfied with what they've bought from you and with the service you've provided to them and so forth. So you can get deeper in and much faster when you're using AI to help you with customer satisfaction analysis. The impact of AI that you may not see occurs in supply chain optimization. This is not necessarily obvious to you or to your customer, but it's working behind the scenes to get things from place to place faster. And it can also be used to locate items in transit. It can be used to identify alternate routes. It really begins also with least cost routing for physical items, finding the best and most efficient way, cost efficient way to ship each item that you're shipping, for example. So supply chain optimization is another example. Okay, so we've looked at a few great examples of what AI and ML can do for business. Now let's switch gears and look to see how AI is being applied to IT. And for that, we're going to enter into the world of AIOps. AIOps. So, what is AIOps? Well, let's put up a definition. AIOps combines big data and machine learning to automate processes. Basically, you have workflows operating in your network. AIOps goes and looks at those workflows and helps you to improve upon them, to streamline them, if you will. It performs event correlation, anomaly detection, and causality determination. Those are three of the techniques it uses. But ultimately, what you're using AI for is to help you monitor what's going on your network and help you manage it, help you to improve upon it, help you to identify problems before they become problems. And that's a key functionality. How did we get the word? Well, okay, so it's a compound word, right? It all begins with ops. We've always had operations. Every business has an operations team that actually does the business. We realized at a certain point that it'd be great to bring together the software developers and the operators who run the software and get them working together in concert, cross-training each other, using same tools. And what came out of it is DevOps, which is a process that basically says the software developers create new software, the operators implement it and deploy it on the network. The users start to use it. Ops goes out and gets feedback from them. How'd you like it? What do we need to fix? They bring that feedback back to the software developers, who then improve upon the software and release another update. Now, you and I, we're all accustomed to seeing a software update once every 6 months, maybe. There are companies now issuing new software version updates over 200 times a day. So DevOps has accelerated the improvement of software, which should in turn improve the quality of the products being produced by the company. It didn't take long to realize that what was missing from this was security. We needed to be paying attention to the security of our operations and our applications and our data. And so they got the security group to join in with the developers and the operators. And we have DevSecOps. Not satisfied that word was long enough, somebody pointed out, and rightly so, that everything we're doing to support the business. So it's important to have somebody from the business, somebody who's developing the business, a business development representative, as part of the team, so they can give us the why and wherefore, which will help inform what we're developing. And so, yes, now you've got BizDevSecOps. And those of you who can say that 3 times fast, you're better than me. So finally, since we're in the habit now of creating compound words, we got to AIOps, combining artificial intelligence with the operations that take place within your organization. What are some of the ways in which this manifests itself? Well, there are 3 basic capabilities that it applies within IT. The first one is observation. It's ingesting and correlating data, the data being the data that's moving across your network, and in some cases, the data that's moving across your organization where people get involved. Engagement, it now takes that correlated data and turns it into a plan to automate specific tasks, to analyze certain risks, to manage certain knowledge, and discover the root causes so that we can prevent whatever's wrong from happening again. Now, this is where a lot of platforms take us, right here. And users more recently have been complaining bitterly that this is not far enough. If you're going to identify the problem, fix it. And they want to see it identified, analyzed, assessed, evaluated, and acted upon all in one continuous motion. AI enables that. And we're going to take a look at some of the ways in which it does. What we're going to do is we're going to look at some applications of AIOps. Okay, some of the applications of AIOps. You're looking at, well, most of you know what that is. That is a network traffic log. And I need you to imagine that that log is scrolling past you and unbelievably fast, just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. It's not something I could automate in the slide, unfortunately. And yeah, I was going to go to video, but the heck with that. It's scrolling past you unbelievably fast. All this data coming in across your network of all the nodes on the network and what they're doing and what they're sending. And your job is to detect any anomalies, see if anything's going wrong. You'd prefer to be able to detect it before it actually caused a problem. And you can. When you apply ML to it, ML, the machine learning part of it, reads and analyzes this high volume of data in real time. Okay, in real time, as it's going through, ML is ingesting it and analyzing it so that we can begin to extract answers. This accelerates the root cause analysis because it can draw inferences from the data that it sees. It can recognize patterns in the flow of the network data. And not only will it provide a plan for remediation, it'll also provide a plan for prevention of future occurrences. This means that any anomalies that do come up, and they come up in droves all the time, they're assessed and resolved rapidly, which is exactly what we want, exactly what your users need. I mentioned assessment. The most important assessment is the assessment of security threats. We need to detect them, we need to assess them and come to understand them, and then we need to fix them. And ultimately, of course, we need to prevent them. Again, AI and ML help out by detecting and analyzing potential breaches way faster than we could. I mean, you think about that scrolling data, there's no way we could ingest all of that and do anything with it at that speed. AI and ML can. And so that's why we apply them. This brings us to resource and capacity monitoring and planning. This is a very important segment of what we do with AI and ML. Capacity monitoring. We all know that one of the big advantages of cloud is that you only pay for what you use. And you're considered to be using a resource from the moment you request it to the moment you release it. So users are supposed to request a resource, use that resource, release that resource. Pretty simple. Unfortunately, a lot of users don't get past the second step. They request a resource, they use it, and they're done. They don't release it, which means that that resource remains in their possession. And that means that you're paying for that resource for all the time that it's sitting there. And yet, it's sitting there doing nothing. Nothing. So you want to be sure you're monitoring capacity. You want monitoring what's being used. And determining what resources are in short supply, what resources are over provisioned. Capacity monitoring can help you improve the performance overall of your network on an ongoing basis. In terms of planning, you know that when you buy a server, you remember back in those days, you bought a server. And one of the questions was, well, how much storage does it need? And you said, well, we have about 1 terabyte now. And we figured we're going to need about 5 terabytes by the time we've reached the end of the useful life of this server, 4 or 5 years. And so you buy a 5 terabyte storage drive. The problem is, day one, you're only using 1 terabyte. The other 4 terabytes are sitting there. They're not doing anything for you, but you're paying for them. And then maybe you add more data and more data, but there's still a big chunk of that storage that's completely idle. You're paying for nothing. And so when everybody saw that cloud was more elastic, that you could request that terabyte and then request another terabyte as you needed it, and then request another half terabyte, and just incrementally throttle your storage, well, that was a much better way to do it. And so the analytics performed by your AI help you take advantage of that elasticity. It can auto scale for you. It can throttle up, throttle back as needs arise. And the needs are gauged by an analysis of utilization, not just an estimate. There's real analysis going on behind the scenes saying, well, we're probably going to need this much by this point in time. As they're doing that, they're learning more and more about your network. They're learning more and more about your utilization of that network, what resources are used, who's using them most. And it starts to make recommendations. Now, you may remember when you saw the ad for this session, it said something about, wow, I should have thought of that. Well, that's the experience that a lot of IT managers are going through right now. They're getting recommendations from their AI, and their reaction is, wow, I should have thought of that. That's a great idea. Now, a lot of it they couldn't have thought of because the AI has a lot more data at its disposal than they could possibly retain as human beings. So again, AI can do things faster that help us do things better. If you're wondering why I'm showing you this picture, imagine that this is a resource pool. The whole fundamental concept of cloud computing is that there's a shared resource pool which every user can request resources from, and they're pulled from there and released back to there so other people can use them. It is altogether possible, it is altogether possible that your pool could run out of a specific resource. It's definitely possible that it could run out of storage, for example. You have a lot of users, they're all requesting storage, then all of a sudden you hit a wall and a user can't get the storage they're looking for. And they can't get it because there is none. So what do? You go out and you order a new storage drive. You cut a purchase order, you submit it, you wait a week or so to get the thing received in, you provision it, you configure it, you implement it, integrate it into your network, and make it available. And now, yes, users can get storage again. Well, any of you who's ever done this for more than a day knows that that scenario would get you fired. No question. You've got to get in front of that kind of thing. You have to know that storage is running out long before it does, so that you can do all that ordering and provisioning and implementing before a user finds out that they can't get the storage they need. So AI uses predictive analytics. It looks at your storage use. It looks at who's using what, how much is being used, how quickly it grows, when it ebbs and flows, and recommends incremental additions to your pool based on its anticipation of increasing requirements. So again, you're getting in front of the situation rather than letting it manage you. I would be remiss if I didn't mention big data. Obviously, big data is, if it's doing one thing, it's getting bigger. There are three attributes of big data that we worry about. Volume, variety, and velocity, the three V's. There's a lot of data coming at us. There are yottabytes of data coming at us all the time. There was an estimate a few years ago that the past 2 years we had generated more data than we had in the previous history of the planet. I don't know that that's true. I don't know that it's continued at that pace, but there are definitely yottabytes of new. Now, by the way, yottabytes is the biggest estimate, the biggest quantity of data. Zettabytes comes before yottabytes, and I have no idea why. So if anybody could tell me, I'd love to know the answer. But imagine a world in which you're pouring in more and more and more and more all the time. It just gets harder and harder, not easier and easier to manage. Fundamentally, humans have no chance. There is no way that we can possibly analyze big data in real time. However, that's exactly what artificial intelligence and machine learning were designed to do. Perfect. Whoa, a little jump there, sorry. Another application that's near and dear to many of our hearts is IT service management. IT service management, ITSM, is the process by which we assign resources to tasks, schedule them, track their progress, and record their completion. AI identifies inefficiencies in the way in which we do that. If there are inefficiencies in the workflow, AI can actually pick those up and improve upon them. Now, what AI is doing to accomplish that is it's analyzing what people are doing as well as what your network is doing. It's analyzing the tasks that are assigned, how long it takes them to be completed, who gets the best reviews from customers. It's measuring a lot of things so that it can manage all of those resources. This means you can plan for future needs for scaling your customers, for providing vehicle routing, for example. In ITSM, many organizations use vehicles to get their people from place to place. What's the most efficient way to get them to do the maximum number of calls by not having to ride around all over the place, but rather in a good straight line from place to place? And personnel selection. Who's best suited for this particular task? Or who has demonstrated that they're fastest at getting these done and get more of them done at time? AI integrated into your ITSM system can do that for you. And AI can also automate. AI can automate. Okay, so this is automation begetting automation. It basically helps to identify opportunities for automation. What can we automate? Once it helps you find those, it'll help you design and deploy that automation across your enterprise. So we have automation assisting with the deployment of automation. Not only can it help you design new applications, but it can also help you manage existing automations. That is, you have automations in place now, they should be performing consistently. If something's wrong, you have AI monitoring it to pick that up and inform you so that you can create resolution before it becomes an outage or some kind of problem. Okay, so wrapping up the applications, let's put them into use. Okay, let's take some of those applications, see them as they're used in industry. First industry is healthcare. There's tons of incredible applications of AI in healthcare. Obviously, on an overall, it increases clinical efficiency by aiding with diagnoses and so forth. It improves, ultimately, patient outcomes, which is exactly what every healthcare organization you deal with wants. Okay? Every healthcare organization wants to improve patient outcomes. That's it. Ultimately, if they're doing that, they're on the road to success. And of course, with HIPAA, the Health Information Privacy and Accountability Act. The privacy and the privacy of the data, somebody's had to be held accountable for that being preserved. So that's how AI helps healthcare. In communications, in telecommunications, it will gain insight into customer preferences. As customers are using various telecommunication services, the AI is analyzing utilization and determining what it means. What can we do to improve upon this for our customers? So how do we improve the overall customer experience? Obviously, with the advent of 5G, AI and ML are being applied in an enormous number of ways. And given that each of the major carriers is deploying 5G somewhat differently from each other, there's going to be a need for something to be the intermediary to connect systems to each other for a long, long time to come. So overall, the thing we all want most in telecommunications is to be able to manage our networks and improve our networks. And AI and ML can be applied to help do that. In the insurance industry, automated claims processing is just the tip of the iceberg. When somebody's had an accident, for example, and they want to get that claim in quickly, they can do so in the middle of the night by interacting with a chatbot to take the fundamental information that needs to be recorded. When insurance salespeople are providing policy quotes to their customers, AI can be used to speed up the process of analyzing that particular customer's needs and attributes and calculating an appropriate quote for appropriate services for them. This means that it's evaluating which is the right process, which is the right policy, and then it's helping you price that policy. And there are now more and more use-based insurance services where the AI is measuring utilization and determining actions that need to be taken to provide service. So insurance is another vertical that's using AI today. Expanding upon that to talk about all of financial services, the most important thing I think financial services are using AI and ML for today is improving the way in which they evaluate and mitigate risk. Financial services are all about risk. And so if you can spot trends, identify patterns quickly, which is what AI does, that can help create a better experience for the customer. It can help you augment your financial service. It can also help you invent new financial services when it sees need. Of course, part of evaluating risk is detecting things like money laundering, other kinds of fraud happening all the time. AI can provide tremendous support in helping you stop it. And then, as we said about insurance, all financial services benefit from the ability to provide a higher level, a more efficient level, a faster level of service that enhances each customer's experience. Automotive, those of you who are driving electric vehicles, like I am, I love it. There is so much technology at my fingertips. The vehicle is telling me so many things that, I just listen to it and do what it says. It's in charge. It is being used to help design, develop, and deliver electric vehicles. It's being used to develop autonomous vehicles. Here again, autonomous vehicles are a challenge. You need a constant connection, zero latency, but you also need high-speed analysis and evaluation of the situation consistently and constantly. Driver assist benefits from AI, looking at the surroundings and determining when the driver is heading toward trouble and heads them away from it. Predictive maintenance, telling you when it's time to bring your car in for service. And in some cases, even reporting the need for service itself so that you can speed the process of getting resolution for your vehicle. And then energy. this is to me the most important application of AI. That's why I saved it for last. And it's enabling transformative new power generation services, new ways of generating electrical power, new ways of storing energy, new ways of distributing that energy to customers. And most important, I think, making continuous contributions to our ability to control the growing climate crisis. So AI and ML are doing a lot in a lot of different industries. Here are just a few things I'd like you to take away from this session, if you will. AIOps is relatively new. The concept's been around for a while. The practical use of it, much more recent. So don't expect that everything you're looking for from your AI will be there. On the other hand, AI is constantly undergoing more and more development. Yes, a lot of people are saying slow down on that, but I've never seen a technology that slowed down. It just doesn't happen that way. For you, those of you who are considering applying AIOps in your environment, your first step is to search carefully. And by that, I mean search carefully inwardly. Look at your entire organization, look at your operations, determine where you see opportunities to apply some of what you've seen here today. And go in with a good understanding of what the possibilities are. By knowing what you want to do with AI, you'll be able to help select the best AI ops system to support that. Once you've identified that list of things you're going to do, you're going to have to prioritize it. Now, this is an echo of way back when we first started migrating to cloud. A lot of people wanted to do a forklift move, pick it all up, move it from on-prem, move it into cloud. Impractical. So they set up a priorities list based on criticality of different processes and the opportunity to learn from the migration of different processes. You've got two ways to go. You can either take the lowest criticality projects first, so you can do all of your learning and your practicing on lower criticality issues. Or you can respond to feeling the need for speed. Got to get this big thing done fast and start with the biggest. I think the former is more prudent, but that's just me. Whatever you do as you're using AIOps or AI in general, keep asking yourself over and over again at given points in time, is this making life easier for me? Is it making life easier for my people? Because that's the goal. That's the true definition of digital transformation, is making life easier and better for people. If you answer yes, you're making effective use of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Thank you for your attention today, Scott. If we have any questions, I'd love to take them.
Yep, we do. Yeah, great presentation, Howard. Love the the vertical approach there. And I wanted to ask you, when you're looking across, all of these AI options, what seems most promising in the sense, well, I shouldn't say most promising. What I mean is most mature. Where is AI offering real benefits to IT or business right now that should be thrown on the short list?
Yeah, it's a little bit buried in the weeds, but if we go back to the earliest applications of AI that we've seen, go back to when IBM Watson, I believe it was Gary Kasparov, it played chess with each other. And the ability of the AI to play chess was unbelievable. Well, its ability to do that is based on pattern recognition. Sequences of moves are a pattern. It can catalog everything that's ever seen a player do before. It can ingest whole games from recorded history. And therefore, it can recognize patterns as they're emerging. I think today, when you think about network traffic, it's about identifying patterns. When you think about ITSM, who, if you have 7 techs and one of them is doing 12 calls a day and the others are all doing 4, I would probably take that first tech and have them train all the others. There's a pattern going on there, and you want to improve upon that pattern. So I think the real answer is anything that's the thing that's benefiting us most so far. Different permutations and applications of pattern recognition.
Gotcha. No, that makes a lot of sense. And another thing that I wanted to ask you about specifically is I know you've done a lot of research on, emerging careers in IT, and you've looked at, algorithm specialists and AI specialists. And I'm just wondering, IT departments are thinking about integrating AI. Is it an issue where do they need to go out and hire people right away who are specialists in that stuff, or can you really sort of evaluate beforehand what's going to work, and maybe even start to get some value out before bringing in some of the experts?
Well, my instincts say I have to remind you that you always have to assess beforehand, no matter what you're doing. But I think you're going to see the same things emerge here that we've seen emerge in many situations before. There are going to be products that are plug and play, where you can just plug them in, turn them on, and they start to do a very specific function that requires AI algorithms to perform. On the other hand, large enterprise, they're going to have varying needs. On one hand, they'll have fully packaged AI platforms or applications, and they'll be able to hire operators with operation skills who can operate that software and turn to support whenever they need it. On the higher end, you're going to find developers who are attracted to this brave new world. AI is very complex programming. It's much higher end development, and there's a category, an echelon of developers who are very attracted to it. As the tools get better, as the technologies themselves mature, the bar to entry into that upper echelon will start to come down. And so you'll need less and less to get there. But right now, that bar is unbelievably high. So you need to have some superstars developing the underlying engines that are running these things. Again, we've seen this before. That need for sophistication is counterbalanced by the functionality and capability of the software. It'll take some years. Right now, we'll develop some superstars. That's the way the IT cookie crumbles.
Yeah, and speaking of the way the IT cookie crumbles and superstars, there's a question here from Nick that kind of gets at the other end. And you've been through a lot of cycles of business, in the tech industry, and the introduction of automation and different sorts of technologies that have maybe had an effect on overall job structure. So Nick is wondering how AI along with big data is going to impact IT staffing levels. Love to get your take on
that. Well, let's talk about what people want it to do and then what it can do. I've done many presentations recently that talk about the fact that there are, I think it's now 4 million open job requisitions in the world for IT specialists of all kinds. 4,800,000 of them being here in the United States. That's a lot of available jobs. And the problem is they can't find qualified people to fill them, which is a shame. It indicates that there's definitely a need for training. Sure, there's a need for training of people in software development at this high echelon we're talking about. But there's also a need for training people to operate and support AI products, AI-based products. Many IT managers are hoping against hope that they can use AI and ML to eliminate some of those job wrecks, to reduce the number of open positions that are available by simply automating those processes instead of hiring people to do them. I don't think that's completely beyond the realm of reality, but I do think it doesn't stand a chance of making the dent they're hoping it will. So I see this as an extension of the variety of skill sets that people can pursue to make themselves qualified for this huge number of jobs just sitting out there waiting for them.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, no, that's sort of a pretty positive take on, there are concerns about job destruction from AI, but it doesn't sound like you see that sort of in the immediate future.
Yeah. The word that we haven't used, I'm somewhat allergic to it, but it's important here. AI, ML, all of that, computers in general, computer technology are tools. They're all tools that people use to get things done that they need to get done. Some of them are simple and the tools can just run, set it and forget it. Others just, no, it's something that feeds information or provides activities that people need done to get their work done. I don't see the potential for a whole lot of job destruction. I do see the need for upskilling. A lot of people are going to need to take a sober look at what their current skill set is overall and get themselves to a place where they're eligible for the jobs that are being created. The world is changing, and it's inexorable. You can't stop it. The one constant is change. So that's where I think it's going to go.
All right. Well, we've got a lot of other questions here, but unfortunately, we're just about out of time. One thing I did want to ask you about, for anybody who's been on this in this session who likes your information and your tone, you've got a Substack. So we've got a link in there in the handout section to follow Howard's newsletter on Substack. But tell us quickly about what you write about.
Sure. It's called the Business Technologist's Journal. As I think about all the people I've worked with over the years in IT, a lot of us had the role of looking at technology and figuring out how we can help customers apply it to solve their problems. Now, that really is kind of the definition of digital transformation. That's what it really is. And it just could be digital improvement. The transformative is not necessarily the goal. Improvement. Let's get better and better and better. And there is a group of people, many of whom are probably watching this session, others who work at companies that provide this as a service. We're all business technologists, and we understand technology. We understand what it can do. We understand how it does it, so that we're insightful enough to apply it well to business requirements. This journal is kind of a recap of my travels through that, the things that I have observed. I mean, when I say senior resultant, the senior points to about 40 some odd years of experience, lots of gray hair, but also lots of great people along the way who taught me great things. Business Technologist Journal is designed to help me share that with that audience, with people who either are business technologists themselves, employ business technologists, or would love to be business technologists. So, if you want to take a look at it, the link is there, but it's biztechjournal.substack.com. Love to hear your feedback. Thank you, Scott.
All right. Yeah. And thank you, Howard. Thanks for coming on. Great presentation as always. Really appreciate your insights here today.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
All
Bye
right.
now.
And before we wrap up, we have one more piece of business. It's the Amazon gift card prize drawing for today. And the winner of that $250 gift card is Jing Zhao from Virginia. So congratulations to Jing. We'll be in touch to get you your card. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank our sponsors for making this event possible: Informatica, Palo Alto Networks, and Pure Storage. And thanks as always for attending and for your great questions. That concludes today's event. Have a fantastic rest of your day.